they're taking reports. There's nobody to be out there and patrol. You know, those machines that you guys put out there to track the speeders, what is it doing? Just telling you how fast you're going? So it's doing it. My speedometer reads 40, that reads 40, well, okay. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I would have put one on Grand Avenue.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
3 minutes are up?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Next order of business,
Mr. Mayor, that
please.
concludes public input.
Thank you.
Mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, proclamations. Do you have any report that you?
I just wanted to report that we had a very successful cleanup this weekend. We had close to 100 people show up. We had a lot of the departments, a lot of the department employees show up. The police department was there, streets, solid waste. There were quite a few people there. All of New Mexico Highlands University athletics was there too, which is really nice. Several students from both school districts, the United World College showed up, and it was a great cleanup. And I'd like to also thank JC's Pizza on the plaza for donating the food for the event. They're always so generous and kind, and I'd like to encourage people to shop local when you're thinking about pizza, and they're wonderful merchants. And I thank the Garofalo's that own the place for their contribution to the community. But other than that, it went really great. I really appreciated everybody showing up and doing what we can to keep the city clean. So that's everything I have for now. Thank you,
Thank you,
Cassandra.
Mr. Mayor. Next on the agenda is councilors' reports.
Councilors?
Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Casey?
I have a couple of things. I did have a call from a constituent who lives on 8th Street, and she is elderly, as is her husband. Her husband is blind, and they're the only two who are at home. Their children live away from Las Vegas and work in Santa Fe, and her husband fell out of bed, and she couldn't pick him up. She called the ambulance. They came to her house very quickly, and she was very happy about that. They picked him up, put him back in the bed, and left. She got a bill for over $500 for that. And she is questioning that because the ambulance service is 4 blocks from her home, and they didn't take him to the hospital. They never put him in the ambulance, and she thought that that charge was outrageous. And so she has requested the paperwork to appeal that charge. So just a heads up so that you know that sometimes the charges are, especially for somebody elderly, and if they hadn't done anything to really, you know, if they had done an IV or had to do resuscitation procedures or whatever, I could understand, but just picking them up and putting them back in the bed for her is kind of an outrageous amount of money to have to pay. The other one was, I would like to know what kind of a timeline we might have to get the park, Plaza Park area up to ADA compliance standards, and when that might happen, if it's even being planned or discussed or anything like that. I would appreciate that very much if we could have that. And the last thing I have is, if you'll pass that down, Councilor Ulibarri already has one. I received this from a person that had done a NIPRA request, and this is on the car wash, one of the car washes here, and apparently he did a request for all the car washes in Las Vegas, but he only sent me this one. And if you look, starting at the top, the consumption of water from August the 4th till whenever he got this is 3,650 gallons of water. For September, it was 322,285 gallons of water. And for August was 355,072 gallons of water. And for a total of 681,007 gallons of water. He would like to know if we might be able to add an ordinance or change an ordinance so that large consumers of water can have a limit per month so that there isn't so much water to be used. He questioned whether, why we had not been able to shut them down during the stage 7 water restrictions. And I did say that we could not do that because of, we can't, stop private business from doing business, but that everyone had been requested to do what they could to help the city out. And he would like to see something done to ensure that these huge amounts of water aren't just being wasted, and that we can better regulate and keep track of the amount of water that's being used. So that's the other one.
If I'm not mistaken, they were shut down during the water crisis.
Yeah.
They voluntarily shut down.
Yeah. I
They
think
didn't-
this one was, but I don't know about the others.
They were.
All of them?
All of them were. Yep.
Okay. So those are some of the issues that have come up.
Okay.
And a lot of thank yous for the people who are along National Avenue from New Mexico to, down to the plaza area for finally getting that street paved. So people were like, yay, when are they going to do my street? My street needs it too. So I've had a lot of phone calls and, people saying, I live on such and such a street, I want it fixed. And so I said, everything's on a schedule, it'll get there eventually, just be patient. But I think everybody's doing as best as we can. So, and for those counselors who really was remiss, and city manager also, to let you know that I was on the radio Monday morning at KFUN to talk about the water situation. And what I did was I took my notes and everything that had been already said in public, either in a council meeting or on the videos that were done by the council members and the mayor, were included in that small report. So, and we got good feedback from the people that called in and wanted to ask questions. And a couple of questions still surprised me because they asked, is the water safe to drink? And so I had just finished explaining that yes, it was, and how it's tested, and we take things offline if they're not safe and all that good stuff. But apparently that person didn't hear it. But anyway, so I just wanted to let you know that I had done that also. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilors? Next order of business, Mr. Matura.
It's not really a report, but I do want to let our city manager know that I appreciate him taking care of the potholes that I have reported, and also the signage that has been replaced throughout town. I did have a question though on the wayfinding sign. We approved probably like $50,000, and I went around downtown today, and there was only, that I counted, 11 signs. And I thought, we were told that there would be like 30 signs. And then the other point I have on those is that some of those are like 9 foot tall. I know they don't want them to get tagged, but you have to look up in order to see the damn sign. And a couple of them, they're behind, one of them is behind trees. Actually, two of them are behind trees. So I don't know who chose the locations, but there's room before and after those areas. So I'm asking that you look into it and let us know in your next councilman report. See where the rest of the signs went, or if they're going to be put up later, or what the deal is on it. The other thing is the sign at the Plaza Park. It says Historical Plaza Park, and to me, it should read La Plaza Vieja Park. The park of the people. So, I don't know if we can order one that would say something like that. I don't know if I have any opposition here or not, but since I was a kid, it's always been La Plaza Vieja Park to me and to everybody in Old Town. So, yes, it is a historical plaza park, but that's the name of the park, the Plaza Vieja Park. So appreciate if you look into that and see if we can order a sign for that. Again, if there's no objection from mayor and council. I know there's a lot of things that are going on in this community that a lot of times we're not very transparent, but we're trying to do our best. We have a newspaper ad that goes out every so often, letting the community know what restrictions we're in and what's in those restrictions. And then we're all working on different areas of ordinances and so forth. So, Mr. City Manager, I thank you and staff for doing our last water distribution for this year. We'll see what happens next year. I think it was very successful. And I thank you and the employees and your staff for handling that as well as you did. It was organized. And the fire department and the police department, thank you guys. I'm sure the people appreciated it. And I know a lot of times we don't hear back from the community, but here at Mayor and Councils, but I tell you, I do hear it out there on the public side. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
I just, Councilman Montoya brought up something that I was going to bring up, and I guess I too have that same concern, because I did notice, I remember in the details of that Wayfindings contract, they were supposed to put up signage, but I did notice that they did put some of those that signage on existing posts and stuff like that, so I don't know if we could audit that contract and the amount of signage, because I agree too. I mean, for 11 signs at $50,000, I think that was kind of outrageous. But going on that, I don't know, was there a final, once they put it, that, everything was accounted for, or?
So yes, we did do site visits for 17 signs. Some of the locations weren't a location that we could install because of underground utility lines and that. But there was a few signs that were double-sided that we took off the scope of work. So they're sending us a new quote based off of what they were able to install. There was 2 locations that we had identified, and nevertheless they were installed in the wrong location. So we're going to get those addressed, which is one in front of the Coors Building on Douglas, and one at Carnegie Library Park as well. But we are getting the updated quote, invoice, I should say.
And especially the signage that's on University and Grand, where we have that other existing wayfind. I mean, to me, it's been now like a cluster with so many signs there. So I don't know, I know there was talk about moving that, that metal structure that was put, but I mean, there's so many signs there. If you're looking, you don't know which sign to look at. So I don't know if, that can be looked into. Other than that, I do want to bring up, just continued thanks to all the staff and for everything that they've done. Of course, there's always going to be, naysayers, and I think that we're doing the best that we can under the situations that we've been through. And thank you. I do want to say thank you, Amy, for the time that you've given to the city of Las Vegas. You gave 110%, and thank you for all you've done, and I wish you luck. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Ulibarri?
Yes, I want to thank Amy for having you for 3-4 months. I don't know how long you were here, but you did a good job for us, and hopefully you could have stayed longer. But, just got to move on, and we did accomplish a lot of little things that we needed to accomplish. And two, I want to thank all the staff, our city manager, our police chief, and our fire department chief, and everybody that's doing a good job for the city. Our employees, finally got a lot done on Ward 1. There's a lot of stuff, really good stuff that Ward 1 we've done. thank the council too, and our mayor. It's, people are talking about it, they're happy, they're excited. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have next our police chief's report. We have Police Chief Antonio Salazar.
Welcome, Chief.
So as we're waiting, I want to mention one of the things you guys were mentioning too. We had the cleanup. That was a pretty big success. We were part of that as well. Our office took the Riverwalk. We had a lot of trash bags, and again, thanks to JC's for supplying us pizza. But for the month of September, here are the field operations for patrol. We had 48 arrests. And we always get into, just again clarifying each time, we had 7 burglary calls. 3 of those were reported as burglaries. Those calls could be anybody saying, people passing in front of people's yards and their neighbors calling, so they're called in as burglary calls. Or officers get there and they deter somebody right away before any crime happens. We had 295 traffic citations, and incoming calls we had 1,561 calls. So some of the community events that we helped out with, we maintained the public safety at NMHU for the West Las Vegas and Robertson High School homecoming parades. We had coffee with the cop at Starbucks, and we attended the Robertson High School homecoming game. For code compliance, we had 56 calls for service and 14 red tags. And then we'll go here. We have this was a big concern, we have 2 abatement properties in progress. And then the 6 abandoned vehicles. So our records division, we had 167 offense incident reports were entered into the Tyler system. 29 traffic accident reports were entered. And then we'll go down here for the, we had 355 citations were entered for the month of September. 723 incoming 911 calls. Out of those ones, 678 were answered. Again, some of those calls were either dialed by accident or dialed and they hung up, but each out of all of those 45 calls that were abandoned, officers still were dispatched, and dispatch continued to call back, and if there was any issues, officers and dispatch addressed them. We had 1,525 police calls, 182 fire calls, 197 AMR medic calls, and 72 code compliance, and 80 animal control calls. I want to go over here to the search warrants. It's hard to see there, but we had 5 search warrants for the month of September. Those included vehicles and houses. We seized evidence out of there, whether it be narcotics or firearms, out of each one of those. Here's some of the evidence that was seized by investigations and the agents. We'll go to the big one here, the one in the middle. 431 pills of fentanyl were seized. And 1 firearm, illegal firearm was seized. And I'll go over some of the big ones and highlight if you go down to the methamphetamine, 14.2 grams were seized off of patrol. And then again here for the 33 pills of fentanyl were from patrol investigations. And then down here at the very bottom, 13 Xanax pills were seized. So we attended some of the virtual step training for all of the police personnel. It's specific targeting traffic enforcement is what this is. We had an individual who attended the rifle instructor course and the 13th annual New Mexico Property and Evidence Tech conference training. We also had a recruit in-service training which was complete on October 7th. So those two individuals, like what was mentioned before, 2 officers left and we obtained 2 new officers. The Telecommunicator Academy, which is the Dispatch Academy, one graduated on September 2nd. 1 police officer, but this one says 1, but 2 police officers were hired, and they've already completed their in-service. We are still currently hiring for animal care technician and community service aide as well. So here are vacancies. We have a total of 23 vacancies. And that is it, and I stand for any questions.
Well, Chief, I'd like to thank you for the work that you do for the community. In public input, we're not allowed to exchange, but I'd like to commend you for the good job that you're doing with the department. And sometimes people move on for different careers, or better opportunities, or whatever the case is, and we'll have that going on forever. It's not like they're going to stay there and be there with us forever.
Right.
But you're doing a very good job, and
Thank you.
and I want to commend you on the job that you do for the department.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
So one more thing before,
Yes.
I want to let everybody know that on the 29th, it's the same day of the trunk or treat, at the police department, we're going to be hosting a pill give back from FBI. So we're going to send a lot of information out, probably through the city website, our website, but we'll have more information on that. So the community, for any old pills or any old prescription pills, they can come to the police department and we'll take them and then we'll properly dispose of those. But more information will be put out here in the near future. And that'll be on the 29th of this month.
Thank you. Sorry. Mr. McLeod?
Yeah, Chief, I would recommend that you keep an eye and send some officers to the road patrol or bicycle patrol in the Gallinas River area, because the signage is getting tagged, the walls are getting tagged. Mr. Maestas just had a company out there today cleaning it up, and all of Hot Springs, a lot of those signs, no, North Gonzales, I'm sorry, a lot of those signs are tagged also. Those signs are expensive, no, to replace, and we can't afford to have them tagged. So we need to start patrolling more of those areas
Okay.
and see if we can catch those people that are doing that destruction.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Chief, if you would touch base just briefly on the trial period of how the speed signs are working, and then when we'll move into actual citations, if you would.
Yes. So we sent out that memo / PSA public service announcement. There'll be a brief. We're trying to go live, absolutely live, in mid-November. We want to give plenty of notice to the citizens as we pass out warnings to them, but we will send out another notice, ample time to let everybody know that we're going to go live and start issuing out citations. But it'll be before, I could definitely say it'll be before Thanksgiving, middle of November.
Thank you.
No, I'm Mr. Mayor. No, I understand Albuquerque is going to detector or detection of noise levels. Is that something you're looking at down the road or what? Because we have some vehicles in this town that are too damn loud. They start up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and wake the whole neighborhood up, and, you know, they drag down Grand Avenue and, like, they don't care. Up 7th Street, the same thing. So, I don't know if that's something that you might look into. I don't know what the ordinance reads now, but,
Well, the ordinance does read that officers do have the discretion on loud vehicles, whether it be a motorcycle, whether it be a car or a truck. Okay, that follows, it's for loud exhaust is what it is. It's state statute and city ordinances. I know Albuquerque is trying to implement decibel readers. We haven't really thought about it, and I'll be honest, we haven't really thought about it, but that is definitely a conversation that we can have, because we plan on going to Albuquerque here pretty soon regarding the speed trailers and getting more data and working things out. That could be a topic so maybe we can get a little bit more information on how they plan on implementing that.
and I thought we had already purchased some. Your department had already purchased some of those meters.
We don't have a decibel readers?
No?
No. And then too, I believe that they have to be specific in the ordinances. A vehicle can't go past a
Yeah.
certain amount of decibels. But yeah, we don't have any decibel readers. But like I said, I can start, being that it's requested for certain areas to be patrolled, we can start looking into those specific citations, because there is an ordinance in the state statute that covers those loud exhausts.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else? Next order of business. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we have our finance report. We have Mr. Dominic Chavez, our interim finance director.
Welcome, Mr. Chavez. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, Council. I believe, well, I had some discrepancies on the initial finance report, and if I'm not mistaken, you got a copy of the updated. So, for the month of September 30th, 2023, the initial finance report indicated a deficit of $411,000 for the general fund. In researching that, I found that the payroll accruals and the accounts payable accruals had not yet posted to September. So I went ahead and got those posted. And so the revenues come in now at, well, the revenues still the same, at $3,067,335, and the expenditures are now at $3,147,081, showing a deficit of $79,745. Also, we included, as per the request of the Finance Committee, graphs for each of the areas so that it could be a little bit more visually assistant. For the enterprise funds, our revenues are at $3,892,643, and our expenditures at $3,444,968 for a surplus of $447,674. The recreation center, our revenues are in at $120,198 with expenditures at $89,871 for a surplus of $30,327. And our lodger's tax, our revenues are in at $192,697 with expenditures of $106,127 for a surplus of $86,571. And also per the request of the Finance Committee, we included the revenues for cannabis, and this came in. The revenues through September are in at $25,649, which is our T expenses of $769 for a surplus of $24,880. And just so you're aware, in the next bar that I bring to you next month, we're going to increase the revenue and expense budget by $100,000 just based off the $25,000 that we've received in this first quarter, so that we can start expending it if necessary or attribution. And with that, it's time for any questions.
Mr. Chavez has the money for the second installation of our payment from the government for, what is it, ARPA? ARPA funds?
Yes, sir.
Has that been realized, or?
They have been received,
Okay.
and they came in on September 6th.
Okay. Do you remember, do you recall the amount?
$1,595,027.
What was that again?
$1,595,027.
Okay.
Mayor and council, I did reach out to Mr. Donnie Quintana with DFA to look at the new language that pertains to what we can use it, allowable costs for infrastructure. He did direct me to their website, so I will get that document and get that over to the mayor and council so that you can review that and we can go over what we'd like to spend those monies on this year.
Thank you.
Yay.
Could you have that for our next meeting?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Maestas. Any questions for Mr. Chavez? Oh,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
Yeah. Mr. Chavez? First of all, thank you for all the hard work you do in fixing everything and getting all the numbers where they need to be. I don't think I would want to have your job ever. Numbers give me stress.
Thanks to
and
my staff as
they're
well.
Difficult to work all the time. But we had requested a monthly vendor report. Could you email that to us sometime? I would really appreciate that so that we can take a look at it.
The vendor report or the check report?
Well, the check report to vendors,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, so that we know who the vendor is and how much they're getting paid.
Mr. Chavez did provide that to me. It is a 72-page document, and I will forward it to
Thank
mayor
you.
and
I
council.
would appreciate that. Yeah, I know that it's a long document, but we used to get that in the past, and it was very beneficial because it kind of helped us keep track of some of the vendors that went beyond their contractual amounts at that time. And I'm not saying that's going to happen now, but, you know, we want to make sure that we know where all the money's going. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr.
Mr. Chavez, well, I'm relieved. I don't have to go into the $411,000 deficit.
Correct.
That was what was presented to the Finance Committee, and we have one of the board members, Mr. Readers, in the audience, and he really gave his opinion on this, because how could we be operating in such a big deficit during this time of the period of the year time? But I'm glad that you caught it, you fixed it up, and that's a relief to know that, you know, it's $79,000. But again, the Finance Committee reviewed it, and they had other questions and concerns that Mr. Chavez was able to answer. They're getting that checklist also, item per item, every check that's being paid out by the month. They're receiving that now, and they're going through it, and they're asking questions. And there are some concerns there that I brought before the city manager today that he will be looking into. And yeah, we do have a little bit of a couple of tough jobs to do, is deciding what we're going to do with that ARPA money as a mayor and council, and then also what we're going to contribute the cannabis money that's coming in. What do we want to dedicate that to? I think that we need to have that discussion, and I think our city manager, you need to get some input from your directors as to kind of like their wants and needs, see if we might be able to help them out with that. No, that's good. And this is good standings right there. Thank you, Mr. Ware.
Thank you.
And I like the graphics. Good on that. They help out. Good. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Romero?
Mr. Dominic, I know you guys spent a little time with Mr. Robert Archuleta, and I know that he's brought in, you know, to some capital outlay funding, you know, that I guess in the past, we had done the projects, but we hadn't submitted for reimbursement and stuff like that. So I guess my question here is in the past, were we just covering that at the city, and that was kind of just a step that we missed? And
No.
now, so I guess the question now is that extra money that we're, not extra, I mean, we paid it out of city funds, so that's going back.
That's going back into the appropriations, correct. And that's a separate fund from what's presented. So all those monies are coming in, and they've been coming in regularly as Mr. Chuleta has been submitting those notice of obligations.
And I, I think it's just another, I guess, flaw in the system that, wasn't happening, and now we're addressing that. So that's very important to note, that had we not done that and worked with the individuals that we're working with, we would have probably never caught that until this point, so I just wanted to make that note.
Right.
Thank you.
That's monies that we weren't spending. That was monies that we weren't spending, that we weren't getting in, that we weren't spending.
But we did spend some.
But now we are.
Yeah, there was some.
There was some that was spent.
That were spent and hadn't been drawn on.
Mr. Chavez, is there anything you need to alert the council about besides that $491?
$411,000. No, other than that, I think we're in good standing.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And thanks to the Finance Committee for all the work they do too. And thanks to all your employees.
Thanks to all my staff, yes, thank you
Yes.
very much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr. Chavez. We
Thank you.
appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Next
Mr.
order
Mayor?
of business.
Next on the agenda is presentations. We have one presentation, not to exceed 10 to 15 minutes. Presentation is by April Morel and Caleb Anderson, who will be joining us virtually, with O'Rourke Media Group speaking on recruitment options for vacant positions within the city of Las Vegas.
Hello, good evening, everybody. It's good to see you all, mayor, council, city manager, and police chief. As most of you know, my name is April Morel, and I am the local sales rep for the Las Vegas Optic and O'Rourke Media Group. And what I do for my job is I oversee the direct relationships that we have with local advertisers and businesses that are in town and in San Miguel County. And Mr. Caleb Anderson, he is the VP of Sales, and he oversees all of our sales in our markets. So he's directly involved in all of our digital campaigns that we have, and he's my immediate supervisor, and he will be presenting, through virtually his PowerPoint regarding our marketing and recruiting capabilities, as well as a brief overview of our company and who we are on a national level. And after the presentation, we will stand for any questions. So, just before we get started, I just want to mention that I'm really glad to be here tonight. And, we have been on the agenda in the past, but because there were other pressing issues, we were either, taken off the agenda or we elected not to present. And, just as it's been stated, our community, it's been through unprecedented times, over these past 3 years. And, I just wanted to personally thank all of you for your efforts, because I can imagine that pressure and stress is just, to keep us safe and functioning is very impressive. So it gives me tremendous joy to see the area coming back to life, and it's blossoming, and I want to continue to see it grow and thrive, and I do hope that we can assist with that. So on that note, I will hand it over to Caleb if he is on. Caleb, can you hear us?
I can. I just turned my screen on. Can you guys see me?
Okay, yeah, you're on.
Okay. I can't see anyone. So how many people am I speaking to?
You have the council, which is about, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, and then we have about 10 people in the audience.
Oh, there
So
we go.
about 20 people.
There we go.
Okay. You know that face.
Yeah. So that screen, you guys can see it okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. So I know we have 10 to 15 minutes here, and I don't want to overstay my welcome here. So I will tell you briefly just a hair about me, as well as about our company. And I just have a quick PowerPoint presentation I put together. One of the biggest struggles we deal with as O'Rourke Media Group is just the misconception of who we are and how big we are, while also our focus on smaller communities. So backing up a second, I used to work for a Fortune 500 company, Lee Enterprises. Some of you may or may not know who that is. It's the second largest media conglomerate in the U.S. I walked up that corporate ladder. I dealt with all that red tape for years, and I was actually scouted by Jim O'Rourke, the CEO of O'Rourke Media Group, about 2 years ago now, and him and I went back and forth for about 10 months before I decided to take the leap. And part of the reason I'm telling you a story is the reason I took that leap and I left a monster in the industry was because of the control we have in a smaller company, being family owned and operated. And Jim's whole focus is on buying, basically dying companies in smaller communities that have a really good following and a great audience and a great community, and flipping that to bring back local news, local journalism, jobs to the community. It's really our model in all 24 markets that we're in. We're very new. We've only been around since 2018, but we are in 24 markets now across the U.S., and most of our markets are made up of towns very similar to you guys. So that's kind of my story and how I joined this company. I'll share my screen here and just show you and tell you a little bit about us. And I would just say if you have any questions, you can interrupt if you like, otherwise we can just wait to the end and I can go from there. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So O'Rourke Media Group, who we are on a local level, you know us as Las Vegas Optic, LasVegasOptic.com. The parent company and the O'Rourke name behind it is our media agency. So we are a full-service digital agency. We've gotten Google partner status. We go through a plethora of different platforms and campaigns, Google Ads, SEO, social media, YouTube. I'll go through all of them in a second, just kind of a list so you can see them. But the biggest thing I like to mention to people is we have all the control over these campaigns and how they operate because we decided to bring everything internal. Most agencies outsource stuff, and so there's always a third party in the pocket, if you will. With us, we wanted control, we wanted quick turnaround times, and we wanted to be able to adapt and adjust to advertisers' needs very quickly. So we made the decision about a year and 4 months ago, about 16 months ago, we decided to bring everything internal, so everything is ran through our own internal team. Not in Las Vegas, obviously, to be clear. We're in some of our fulfillment teams in Vermont and St. Louis and other areas, but we're really big on data. So we love to focus on the data behind the campaign to stay ahead of the competition. A lot of things are changing over the next 12 months. I don't know how much you guys know about Google and what's going on with Google, but they're changing their analytics. They're updating everything. There's a lot changing that even affects something as simple as a mom and pop coffee shop on Main Street if they have a website and how that impacts their website. We do work with some Fortune 500 companies globally, but again, our bread and butter and our main focus is on the small to medium-sized business in the communities that we reach. But essentially what we do is we help target your audience with the right message at the right time using targeted digital tactics and obviously local news sources. Really to simply sum it up, we utilize our national expertise, but we really execute with that local precision. Here's kind of a vision or idea of what our three platforms look like. So we have the print, in your case it's LasVegasOptic.com, circulation of just under 3,000 once a week, and then we have the online version, which this is a really impressive stat for me. So the LasVegasOptic.com in our 24 markets, I think it's our second strongest website based on population in that market and page views and monthly users. That shouldn't say $50,000, that should say 50,000 people, sorry about that. So just based on the population in Las Vegas and the LasVegasOptic.com, we're very happy with what our editorial team has been doing as far as driving page views. We've seen a steady increase over time. And then lastly, what I'm really going to kind of talk to you guys about today actually is the targeted digital and the different solutions that we have to offer. So I will just touch on retail for a second, but I understand recruiting is kind of a big part of this conversation for a lot of people and what's going on in that world. So to touch on retail very quickly, and if I'm going too fast, you can tell me to slow down. I just want to be respectful of your time. When we're looking at marketing and how we kind of separate ourselves from other agencies is a lot of agencies like to come in and say, this is the product that we're going to use that's going to solve our pocketbook and our problem, and it should fit a few of your needs as well. We don't do that. We want to come in, we want to sit down, we want to have a consultative conversation about what it is that you need. Are you needing employees? Are you needing windows sold? Are you needing foot traffic, phone calls, phone calls, form fills? And depending on what that need is, we lean one direction, which is branding or awareness, and then we lean on the other direction, which is purchase or lead generation, in market, people ready to buy now. So depending on where that need is where we place the advertiser in that situation. And to be very clear, there is no difference between a recruitment advertising and retail advertising. Essentially, we are targeting a group of people and delivering an ad to them with the idea and intention to get them to go somewhere and to convert through an application or to buy a product. Here is just a list. This isn't even everything we do, but a list of all the things we offer. Search engine optimization, in short, getting your website or your company up on Google. It's kind of like a credit score. It takes a little bit of time, but through a lot of manual labor, we work to get you up on Google faster. Search engine marketing, a lot of people get these confused. It's essentially getting your ad right on the very top of Google right away. We build websites. Targeted display is just online targeting through mobile, through tablets, desktop. Geofencing, we can go in and we can use Polygon technology and actually fence off up to a 5-meter building, or 5 meters of a building, I should say, to serve ads to any individual that walks through that building, and then we retarget that individual for the next 30 days. YouTube, it's the second most used search engine in the United States right now. YouTube TV has become a kind of a new way to watch TV. It's a part of streaming services. We can target through video, like commercials. Facebook, this actually is Facebook and Instagram, since they're owned by the same company. We've seen a lot of success with social targeting, that aesthetic view, reaching a lot of people, yet you're able to target with a direct message. Local display, this would be the LasVegasOptic.com. Connected TV, we're getting a lot of people cutting cords. Hardly anybody uses cable anymore, so a lot of what we're trying to do is to adapt to that and say, let's target the Netflix, the Hulu, the streaming services. And with that, you can get targeted, right? You can hit job seekers, you can hit homeowners, you can get location and different things like that. TikTok, a lot of people laugh when I mention TikTok. I laughed when we started advertising for TikTok, but believe it or not, from a recruitment standpoint, and I'm going to go over an example in a second, it's a really good way to show an audience why you're a fun place to work, what you have to offer, and that you're more laid back, or you got a great environment. TikTok's actually worked better for us than I ever dreamed it would, because I was a skeptic of TikTok when it first came out. Brand management, this is just basically a directory listing and cleanup, and then audio, video, and production. So this is where perhaps you guys would have some sort of desire in the future to work with us in this. I have done video shoots for cities. I've worked with city managers, for government bodies, to help bring tourism back to the city, to help bring business owners to the city, or we'll do like a 4-seasonal shoot or a 2-seasonal shoot, and we'll talk about all the things the city has to offer. We'll target the right areas, the right demographics to try to drive tourism, traffic, business owners, fill empty shops. I'm very familiar with this. I just finished a video not that long ago for a town in Vermont, actually. Any questions about retail, I guess, before I get into recruitment? And I can't see you guys, so you'll have to say something.
No, go ahead.
Okay, recruitment marketing. So this sales funnel sums up recruitment. There's 11.4 million jobs available in the US. There's only 6 million jobs available, or 6 million people looking for those jobs. Depending on the state and the population of that state, you suffer based on less population. You guys are obviously in one of the worst states to hire in right now, just based on population compared to, a New York or California and things like this. Obviously, as you get close to places like Albuquerque, you'll have a little bit more success because there's more people, but this has been a really big deal for us over the last 12 months. I would say we used to be 50-50 retail recruitment and revenue, and I would guess we are probably 70-30 right now, because everybody and their mother is obviously looking for people and they're trying to hire. How we do it different is we want to target the passive job seeker and the active job seeker. So we essentially want to target somebody who's either currently working or is never decided they wanted to find a new job, and to hit them with a passive ad in their place of work or in another area where perhaps they wanted to move further east or further west, and they just didn't know it until the right opportunity presented itself. It's typically a higher quality candidate, just less quantity. Active job seeker, this is like a Google ad where if somebody's typing in finance director positions, Las Vegas, enter, boom, you're popping up, your ad's popping up, they're going right to you. The other part of this, and obviously being right in the middle of all this, you're doing branding, that's the sweet spot. So recruitment, we've really kind of defined ourselves as a recruitment agency. We've been heavy retail for so long, but recruitment has been such a successful arm of ours that is something we kind of dove in head first in the last 12 months, and we've become very good at it. I will talk about an example here in a second of how good we've gotten at this, but I want to talk about this very quickly. This is something that is unique to our company. Some other companies are running stuff similar to this, but we invested in a technology platform about 3 months ago called Max Recruit OMG Hire. It's a job portal platform that we now own. It's proprietary toward us. And what it does is it essentially takes a job listing, a job board listing, and it places it on these different websites based on search volume and based on title search in an area and a particular time of day. So if Tuesday at 2 o'clock, somebody's looking for a housekeeper position and there's a lot of people looking in Santa Fe, and it's on ZipRecruiter, we're going to target ZipRecruiter during that hour just to try to get as many candidates as we can. As soon as that that activity dies down, we pull the ad. It does not live there. It doesn't live on Indeed. It doesn't live on Glassdoor. We have a lot more control over this because Indeed loves to blow a budget very fast up front. So this was our way to kind of combat Indeed. And the end user has no idea that they're actually running through our portal. I just interviewed a gentleman the other day. I was trying to explain this to him. I said, how do you think that you applied for this position? He goes, I applied on Indeed. I said, no, you didn't. You actually applied through our portal. You just didn't even realize this. We were using this internally for a hiring campaign. This is some really cool technology. I was very skeptical of this at first as well. But we've had a lot of success with this because we're able to place it on the top 30 job boards in the U.S. without having it live somewhere because, you know, Indeed is a monster. It is the monster. It's the, 400-pound gorilla in the room, but they're not always in every single community that monster. And so we wanted to have a way to beat Indeed, and this has been our way of doing it, and we've sold a lot of their business. Here's a few examples of the job sites that we use. We also have a really good diversity program. If you're looking for people that are bilingual, different languages, whatever that may be, we actually have platforms where we can target people just specifically speaking a certain language on certain websites. So if that's an area of opportunity for you guys. And then here's a case study that I wanted to bring to your attention. I personally worked with this customer. They were looking for 450 employees in Michigan. Their biggest competitor was Amazon, who had 2 facilities within a 30-mile radius. They were looking for 450 positions, and they wanted to get the active and passive job seeker while doing branding at the same time. We utilized a few different tactics. I only have 3 written here now because this case study was done a little while ago. They're all the way up to using like 9 or 10 tactics with us now, and they've quadrupled their budget. They were going to give us 60 days. They just signed another 12-month agreement. They just finished their first 12 months. They said we've been the best recruiting agency they've ever worked with, and they are a Fortune 500 global company. But basically, in some of the first 30 days that we worked with them, actually I think this was in January, we started in November, we reached 35,000 people. A couple hundred people clicked on their ads just from one campaign, over 150,000 views just from YouTube and TikTok, and in 30 days, we had over 250 people apply to their position, and they hired over 50 people in 30 days. Needless to say, they have been one of our best advertisers. We have a great relationship, and this is just one small part of what we do. And I know I am getting close on time, so I got 2 slides left. Big thing that's really important to me and to our company is conversion tracking. It's very easy for an agency to come in and say, hey, your click-through rate was great, have a nice day. We don't look at it that way. We want to track everything you allow us to track. Phone calls, form fills, foot traffic, web traffic, bounce rates. I mean, you can get down to demographic traffic and to see what your ideal candidate is or your ideal buyer is for a specific product. And then we build profiles and we try to target that buyer just to try to fit and solve that need for that advertiser. But through analytics, we have our own internal reporting dashboard. Everything we run flows through that dashboard. So we have, again, a lot of control over this. The biggest thing I'd like to say, here's some additional services, is, and perhaps most of you knew this, maybe none of you knew any of this until this conversation, but you guys have a powerhouse for a digital marketing agency right in Las Vegas. I could make the argument there's probably not a company in New Mexico that has the capabilities that we have, and I don't know if we've done a good enough job as the Optic, myself included, explaining that to the community. So when we buy a company and we're flipping it, we're going through kind of what we're able to do, our biggest battle is always getting into market and saying, forget what you know. This is a totally different animal when it comes to a business, and we're here to help. We want to customize these solutions. We want to work with advertisers. Our goal is advertisers, because if advertisers don't stay in business and they don't do well, we lose our customers too. So that was about the fastest I've ever done a presentation, so I apologize for the speed of that, but I wanted to make sure that I kept it within my time frame. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Hi, Caleb. I know we've talked several times. This is Louis.
Can you hear Louis?
Yeah. How do you think job search could help our situation with as many vacancies as we have in our organization? How successful do you think your company could be?
So how many positions are you looking for, Louis?
50, 60.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So what I would do is, I would be fair just to give you an answer right now on the spot of what that would look like, but generally speaking, when we're working with people that are looking for 50 or 60 positions, the best thing you can do is put together a platform. So like when we first talked about that sales funnel, right? Forget the recruitment one, we'll talk about retail for a second. That big wave we had. We want to hit people on all different ends with the goal of moving them along the line to getting them to apply. What I can tell you is everything we do is data-driven. So what I could do is if you gave me the positions that you're looking for, I could pull data from our platforms and say there are 3,200 searches per month for this particular position within a 30-mile radius of Las Vegas. I think there's a major opportunity to hire these people. Or if you feel like a position is paid well enough or desirable enough to pull people from Santa Fe, there are areas we could target in Santa Fe to bring people over. I don't know if Albuquerque's too far. We can target throughout the state for more niche positions. When you're looking more general labor, it's actually pretty easy to fill those positions with job boards and with just general targeting. When you're looking a little more specific, we put together like a custom job board position, if you will, and we would target a further radius. So if you're looking for, some of the stuff gets tough, right? The last thing you want to do is pull business from other people, but if other people are not happy and you have a very niche position, you think you could pull somebody from Albuquerque, I would target those facilities where you find that position and try to serve them ads on why you'd be a great place to work. There's a lot of different directions you could go with this, but for 50 people, I absolutely believe we could fill a lot of those positions for you.
Caleb, is the one video that you did for that city in Vermont, is that available on YouTube that some people could look at?
It is. I have no idea what it is, so what I'll do is I'll find it. We posted it online through Facebook, so give me, whether it's tonight or tomorrow, I'll find that video and I'll send you the link and then you can share it with everybody. I think there's 3 videos we did total. I'll try to find all 3 of them.
Yeah, they were just simply beautiful. You did
Yeah.
a great job. So, go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Winter.
Mr. Anderson, how old is your company and how many accounts do you have?
So as I mentioned earlier, we started in 2018 and we've grown to 24 markets in 3 years or 4 years now. We're actually closing on another market in Denver in the next 2 months. So we're fairly new. The one thing about our company though is, I will share this, Gannett Media, I don't know if you guys have heard of Gannett, they're the largest media company in the world. They just announced this week for mandatory furloughs, compensation for basically severance pay, a hold on hiring, and they're eliminating a bunch of positions, like 400 people. We are the exact same, like they're a competitor of ours in a lot of our industries. We're the exact opposite. We're 70% year over day, market to market in revenue. We are hiring like crazy. We're hiring editorial staff, which a lot of agencies don't do because they cost money and they're not a sales engine. So how we're different is kind of, I know that's not really the question you asked, but that's that. As far as customers, oh man, I have no idea. Thousands and thousands. Like I said, we're in 24 markets. I mean, just in our Minnesota market alone, we probably have over 1,500, 1,200 just in one little market.
Thank you.
I was one of them just here in Vegas.
Oh, you were asking about Vegas. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about like in our company.
No, that's Joe from Community Auto. Do you remember when you were in town and we met with Joe? That's what he was saying.
Oh, yeah. I remember Joe.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I didn't see you, but I can just hear you.
Well, thank you, Caleb. We'll give this some consideration, and next time you're in town, let us know. We'll set up a longer meeting so we can talk more about marketing and so forth, and we'll work with April to see how, how we move forward.
Absolutely. My contact information is on the website or in the paper. And if you guys need Caleb's information, just feel free to reach out to me as well, okay?
And I'll just leave you guys with this, is if you want to sit down and talk prior to me getting to market, I will try to get there in the next 60 days. I just want you to know, if you were to try and test the waters with us, we're not a contract company. So our retention is so good in this company, we don't even do contracts. So if you wanted to try something, test it out for 2 months and just say, hey, we don't want to commit to a year, we just want to try something and see if it works, I'd be all on board for that because I'm pretty sure you'd be pretty happy with the results we bring.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
that's all I got, guys. Have a great night. Thanks for letting me join.
Thank you. Wonderful, thank you, April. Next order of business, please.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to business items. We will conduct a public hearing for business items 1 and 2. I do not have any public comments for either one of those items. Do you want to go into public hearing first, or do you want me to announce what the items are?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go into public.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero to go into a public hearing,
Second.
second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. The first item, before I swear anybody in, I'm going to go ahead and read the first two items. Request approval to adopt ordinance number 22-11 for the annexation of a 1.805 acre parcel off North Grand Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico, 87701, for property located at 2446 North Grand Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico. And the second item is related to the first. It is request approval to adopt ordinance number 22-12, amending the official zoning map from an RA, which is residential zone, to a C3 general commercial zone for property located at 2446 North Grand Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico. We have our Community Development Director, Ms. Amy Weiser, and I'm going to go ahead and swear those people that will be speaking on the issue. If you'll please stand. And if I can get you to raise your right hand and state your name for the record, one at a time.
Joseph Rivera.
Maria Gilberry.
Okay, under the penalties of perjury, do you swear that the testimony that you are about to give to the council tonight on these two items will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm going to just give you a little overview, and then the applicant, Joseph Rivera, is here, and he'll have some things to say to you as well. This is a request. We have two separate items here, so you'll probably make two separate motions. One is a request to annex into the city limits, and the other is a request to change the zoning if the annexation is approved. So this application actually went before the Planning and Zoning Commission about a year ago, and the Planning and Zoning Commission approved it, and then it was supposed to go to the council. They recommended approval to the council, and then it never went before the council. I'm not sure what happened, but that was what went down. So Mr. Rivera proceeded as if things had been approved. He was told they were approved. The director at the time let him move forward with his plans, signed off on building permits, all those kinds of things. So since that time, Mr. Rivera's use has changed, and he did run that by the director at the time and our planning and zoning coordinator. So originally, he was wanting to do a car wash on the property, and since that time, he's changed the uses that he'd like to do there. So he has a new site plan for you that's in your packet, and now what he's asking for is to do some Airbnbs on the property. He's going to do 2 retail spaces and 1 future restaurant. So that's what he'd like to do on the property, and for those of you that might have driven by, you will see that there's already some units out there. He can explain the history behind those and what those are. But he did receive all the proper permits for placing those structures, and Planning and Zoning did sign off on the request for those permits. So what you have before you tonight is the request for the annexation and the zone change. It went to the Planning and Zoning Commission on October 11th. They recommended a unanimous approval to the council with a few conditions. They did add a request to provide a parking plan for the proposed project. They added, they wanted a copy of the notarized statement that he's allowed to access sewer on the neighbor's property. And they also requested that the owner provide a landscaping plan. So those are the 3 conditions that the Planning and Zoning Commission added, and those are added to the zone change, not the annexation. So I'm here if you have any questions, and I know Mr. Rivera would like to speak to the project as well.
Mr. Romero?
Just a quick question, Amy, because that was my concern. So for the record, who was the director at the time that signed off?
I think it was Mr. Minus that signed off on the permits. I don't know if there was a director in place at the time, but I know it was Mr. Minus that signed off on everything.
The other question that I had, I'll go more into, but The other question, since the meeting on October 11th, with these recommendations, do we have the updated, the parking maps and some of these other conditions that were met?
No, we don't have those yet. We're kind of waiting for the council to either approve or deny the request, and you can incorporate those conditions into your motion. They just met last week, so it was
And
kind
Mr.
of a
Mayor,
quick turnaround.
I'll just state this real quick. I did have concerns. I did look up, some of the ordinances that we have in place, and we have ordinance number 450-13. And in that ordinance, it discusses, about the move, basically placing, I know there was some concern from the community, on those buildings that were put on. So that was my big concern. Number one is who allowed that, and obviously we know our answer now. But moving forward, Mr. Mayor, I just don't know, we don't have an attorney to ask any legal advice here. And I think being that it was signed off, I have concerns, I personally do, but I don't know if we can continue if we have those concerns and not having legal representation at this time. That's just my 2 cents, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can you explain to me which property it is exactly? Is it the one across from the Love's truck stop?
Yes, it is, and it looks like your city manager is going to pull up a Google map for you.
Is that where those portable buildings
Correct.
are?
Yes. And Councilor Romero, just so I can understand your comment, are you asking about the legality of placing the structures?
Prior to, because if you read ordinance 450-13, there's language in there that nothing should be done on that property until the zone change or that. And my thing is, well, it's already done, so if we move forward, or we don't move forward,
Right, okay,
we're
thank
kind
you.
of to me, I feel, like we're obligated, but I still have concerns.
Okay.
And I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you.
Ms. Amy?
Go ahead.
Ms. Amy, so on this property, did they already have water rights in that property?
I'll let the applicant speak to that a little bit, and I know Ms. Gilveri is here, but the applicant has not received any water taps at this point. They've just been placing the structures, but have not received any water meters or any water taps.
Okay, and maybe this question is for Ms. Maria Gary. At stage 5, we're allowing water hookups in the county?
Yes, sir.
Or in the city?
Yes, sir. At
Both?
stage 5, we are.
Both, okay. And this place, to your knowledge, doesn't have a water hookup? That's
I
present.
don't believe it does at this time.
Okay, and this is part of the master comprehensive plan?
I can't speak to whether this particular project is in the comprehensive plan.
Okay. And the process for the annexation took place, no? And it all went through. And according to this document, the last page on here, your attorney signed off on it on 9/8/22.
Correct,
That's what I understand.
correct.
Okay. And the other question that I had is the change of use went before the planning and zoning, right?
On October 11th, yes.
Yeah, okay. And this is an application that started in March, and it took 7 months to get
Correct.
here, which is
I agree.
whatever, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be doing business like that.
I agree.
But anyway, it could be somebody else's fault too, I don't know. But either way, yeah, no, I have no questions, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Casey?
thank you. In looking at the application documents, one document shows 9 structures, and the other one shows 13. So how many are really going to be there? Mr. Rivera?
Hang on, we'll let Mr. Rivera talk in a minute, but
Okay.
and he can speak to that, but the most recent site plan that I have does show 13 structures, but I'll let Mr. Rivera speak to that a little bit more when he comes up to talk.
Okay.
But some of them are the Airbnbs, and then some are retail, and some are a future restaurant, so, yeah.
Okay. And then also, the application itself has a question about how much water will be used. And it says, I'm sorry, I had eye surgery and my eyes are like, one is working and the other one not so much. Okay. So bear with me. It says, water, residential use of water is 10,000 gallons. That's not a whole lot of water for either 9 or 13 units. And so well, it says residential 0 and the commercial 10,000. So even if it's a restaurant or a retail store, I think it's going to take more than 10,000 gallons a month to, of water. So I'm kind of concerned about that.
Counselor Casey, are you talking about the application filled out by Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Okay.
And so that's what I was concerned about, because we don't know what our water situation is going to be in the future. We hope that it's the best that it can possibly be, but that's going to take a lot of time to get to where we want to be in terms of how much water we have. And by the same token, I don't want to prevent anybody from starting a business and making a living. And so we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. And so I'm concerned that, the things were done out of order, so to speak. And that's not Mr. Rivera's fault, but it really has created a to help him while maintaining the integrity of the process and maintaining our water where it needs to be.
Sure.
So this is
The way I might address that, it wasn't really a question, I don't think, but I've seen some jurisdictions where when there's something going on, like sewer treatment plant needs to be upgraded, or there's water issues, what some jurisdictions will do is put a moratorium on annexations during that time until whatever needs to be fixed is fixed. Or they put a moratorium on zone changes, or those kinds of things. So that's something that the city could look at doing. It wouldn't apply to Mr. Rivera because his application's already turned in, but you might want to talk with an attorney about that, see if that's the direction the city might want to go. You can do that until you really figure out we talked about this the other day, about what the population growth, what the cap might be for the city of Las Vegas based on the water supply. So that's something that you could always look at doing until you really determine what that number is.
Good idea. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Romero?
I have another question, and I don't know if Amy, you were probably involved in this, but, because, like you said, it started before you got here. But the design review team, who was part of that? Was fire, utilities, and so I guess has this already been signed, because we didn't get like the actual sign-offs on, make sure all these plans and everything were reviewed.
Right, so it did go to the design review team. We just started that up again recently, and the design review team was a little confused, as was I at the time, because I wasn't fully versed on this application yet, as to why they were even looking at it, because it wasn't in city limits. So when I first brought this to the design review team, it was to talk about the change in use. And that's after that meeting, I did some research and found out that it was in fact never annexed into the city. So there was some confusion during that design review team about its status.
See, and I just want to clarify, I know Councilor Montoya asked, the question is, it's been annexed, but technically it hasn't officially been annexed yet.
No, Councilor Montoya was asking, did the planning and zoning recommend approval of the annexation, and the answer was yes. But that final decision is up to the council.
Yeah, and that's okay. And as far as the buildings, and I know Mr. Rivera can,
Yes, sir.
CID, have they kind of reviewed any of your plans for those Airbnbs, or? I
Well,
mean-
these were functioning buildings, Stan, you said, or?
Whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah, these were functioning buildings for the public schools in Albuquerque, so everything was up to par. I mean, they're good structures.
And the reason why I asked is I was part of the school board about 5 years ago, and I know we had functioning portables at the time, and we wanted to actually, they were at Union Elementary, we wanted to get them and put them at the football complex to do, at that time, concession. But they said once we move it, you know, they're up to code because of the time and everything that they were on, but once they're moved, it's a completely different, you know, scenario, and I don't know if you looked into that aspect, because I know at the time, when we considered that, it was almost cheaper to build a new concession than it was to remodel what we had there. I mean, I know that's a kind of, but just, I don't know if you might want to contact CID and some of them to make sure, because it might be.
Well, the gentleman that sold me the buildings, he's worked with several people that have used them and have repurposed them for other types of businesses, and I mean all over Albuquerque. So apparently these things are sound, and they're, you know, structurally sound, and, you know, they're. As far as the footings are concerned, I mean the piers on these buildings are, you're probably looking at about 5 yards per building of concrete, you know, for piers. So I mean,
Has that been done yet?
yeah, it's been done. So I got all the necessary approvals. I mean, I worked with different engineers, different architects. I've worked with, when I first bought the property, I had an engineer for that, because I put in culverts, I put in roads, I built in roads, had everything compacted the way that it's supposed to be. And I've been coming to the city for, you know, for guidance, not guidance, you know, but to do everything the way that it's supposed to be. And I'm continuing to do that. So I'm not trying to cut any corners. So I'm just trying to do everything legitimately as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and I mean, my concerns, and I apologize at this, my concern is this should have, even before any of the buildings were put or there, you know, should have come before us. I mean,
and you know, that was probably a mistake that was done beforehand, but you know, I wasn't aware of you know, of what Mr. Minus, you know, of that whole scenario, but I did take the necessary steps to do everything legitimately the way that I was supposed to.
Do you want to talk about the use of?
Mr. Montoya?
Yeah, Mr. Rivera, when you purchased that property, did it come with water rights?
You know what, the people that sold me the property assured me that it had water rights, and assured me that I was going to be able to tap into to everything that was there. As the project went further, I was, you know, there was people who were, well, the owner apparently was a private line for the sewer, and so that was kind of hindering me to get my utilities. And so before I was able to get water, you have to get sewer, as Ms. Gilbert, you can probably explain to you better than I can. But you have to have the sewer in place before you can tap into the water. As far as the sewer is concerned, I obtained a notarized letter from the adjacent neighbor next to me, stating that I can use as a forever use for the sewer.
Okay, and what, in order to comply with the planning and zoning recommendation, which this council would probably have to do too, is how many days or months or years would you need to comply with the parking plan and
Well, you know what,
landscaping plan and that?
well, you know what, I drew up something the way that I want it. You know, it's not in a diagram perfect, but it's pretty much to the point. And so I've drawn that into the plan.
Even if you could say like 4 weeks or 8 weeks or.
Oh, it's a time period?
That's what he's asking,
Oh,
is
okay.
about how long do you think it would take to get that done? And you probably want to do the parking plan with your engineer or architect.
Well, it's like I said, that one's actually pretty. I mean, it's as you saw on the front, it's all you know, storefront all the way across, and you know, there's going to be ample enough parking for everybody. And I have a little sketch here. I don't know if you can blow it up or what. It's just, yeah, it's.
You can, I think 8 weeks would be sufficient from what I'm hearing.
So I don't know if this will suffice or not. I know you're trying to ask a time frame,
Okay,
but
so,
I'm not sure if this will
so
suffice.
my question is this, Mr. Rivera, would it be like a 60-day, 30-day, 90-day?
To get, you know, professional drawings from an architect, I can probably do that in a week.
Why don't you, I'd say 30 days, because you never know how busy people are.
Okay. Well, I'll let you know, I'm glad that you changed your mind doing a car wash.
Yeah,
For what?
especially these times.
Because I don't think that would have flown.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, we are in need of housing. So this right here is just for annexation.
Okay,
And the next item is for the change of zone.
okay.
So we'll go with that. And one last question for Mrs. Galbraith, Maria Galbraith. So does our ETC zone, we don't have a committee or commission, so that's dead. But it went through all directors, like Mr. Romero said, on a sign-off sheet of allowing Mr. Rivera to proceed on the permit, on the application. Do I understand? Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So on the ordinance for annexation, there's a segment there that says that an individual can exchange water rights for the amount of use that they're going to be using for their business or household in exchange for services, for water services. Now, is that taking place here? Or it also says that they can pay the funds instead?
Correct.
So, yes.
that would be a discussion we would have. There would be a cost for tying in. There's an outside city limits fee.
Okay.
Or inside city limits fee, depending on what scenario we're dealing with. And it is per ordinance on the amount of water expected to use. If it's residential or commercial, it's a different rate. And if he doesn't exchange water rights or he doesn't have water rights, he has to pay the additional fee.
And the DOT entrance permits were permitted,
Yes,
and we have a main line running through there?
yes, there's all the utility, there's gas,
Okay.
there's water.
And I'd have to refresh on the development application what water specifically wrote and make sure that it's on the sewer as well, that it meets all the requirements.
All right. And if this application would fail, the $500 refund will not be acceptable, will not be allowable for the application?
You mean if for some reason the council
Yeah.
were to deny it, are you asking could he get a $500 refund for the fee?
No, he loses his $500 application fee?
I don't know the
No,
answer to that
okay.
question. I think that might be
Alright.
up to the council.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor,
Mr.
Ms. Casey?
I have a question for Maria.
Mr.
Is it going to be one water tap for the entire area, or is it going to be an individual water tap for each building?
For city ordinance, it's required to have an individual meter for every building.
And to Amy, there was one letter sent in of property owners that are adjacent to the property. Were they in favor or opposed?
I don't know, I'll look through there because I didn't see the letter.
Oh, okay.
I'll
It
look
said
through.
only one letter sent. Oh, okay. I misread this because I understood it to mean that the property owner sent a letter, but Councilor Romero just said that, no, that they own two properties, but only one letter was sent to them.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, never
Okay.
mind.
That's all right.
Erase.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you. So there were no one opposing?
No.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
No,
know.
no. Okay.
Any other further testimony? Maria?
Mr. Mayor, the one thing I do want to make sure I look clearly at is however we're going to do the sewer. And when we have talked in the past about options for tying in the sewer, I just want to make sure we don't create any issues in that area. So that will be something we will look at.
Yeah, it might be nice to put a condition of approval if that's where you're going to go. That, that Mr. Rivera gets all sign-offs for sewer as he's required to do.
Well, it's a private line, so I don't think that that'd be a reason for that.
Would be a reason
So
for what?
it's a private sewer line, so there's not a reason to get any type of approvals or any kind of conditional use for, to be able to tap into the water. As I spoke to Ms. Ellery here, she, if you remember correctly, as long as I'm able to tap into the sewer line and get an approval from the neighbor, that I can tap into it and get a water tap after that.
Yeah, but it still gets state approval, right, Maria?
Yeah, the CID is
CID?
separate from
Yeah.
whatever I'd be involved with. What I would be looking at is to make sure that wherever the tap is, that we're not creating an issue. We have had two private lines tying into each other before it gets to the city's main, which can cause issues. And just making sure, because it is an older line. And so we just want to make sure that he doesn't have any sewer issues backing up on his property or any of the other people in the area.
And how much is each tap nowadays in the county,
For water or sewer?
water?
So a single setter is $460, not including outside city limits fee. Residential is $600. And that's estimated at a residential rate, so I'd have to calculate the commercial rate. It would be much more than $600 per bill for the outside city limits fee. Again, if he's outside city limits.
So anyway, as she explained that you need an individual tap per building, I kind of contest that because if you have a motel in place, you're not going to get an individual tap per building. So this is all going to be, tied in together. So I don't think that'd be necessary to get an individual tap per building. What I wanted to do was get 4 taps in the event that I wanted to have, like I said, a future restaurant, future storefront, and have everything kind of in quadrants, and have, for example, the bed and breakfast would all be one tap because it's all going to be the same thing. Excuse me. The retail, it would have its individual tap because if somebody wants to come in and lease that property and put their own business there, they would be, they'd be liable for their own water consumption and so forth. So I don't think that it'd be, I don't think that it'd be.
Well, our ordinance reads that we have to have individual meters for individual structures, for the individual households. That's the way it reads. It doesn't read that, we got away from that 20 years ago.
Okay.
Where we had 1 meter per household for the dad and mom, and then 10 brothers and sisters hooked up a meter. We did away with that.
So how does it work, like, with all due respect, how does it work like for a business like a motel? I know they're different structures, but they're kind of, all in the same, if that makes sense.
Well, maybe Maria can answer that, but I
I think
understand
maybe
they're all
one-
in one setup.
Maybe one of the best comparables would be duplex or some sort of multiple facility where each portion of that duplex does have a meter. Hotels are a little different, it's one place of business. But when you're talking about some apartments that have a parking lot in the front, each one is an individual entrance, but they might even be connected, they still all have separate meters.
But the thing about that, the difference is that I'd be assuming the responsibility to pay all the water, so, I mean,
Yeah, no, we had that before, and it don't
Okay.
work for us.
Okay,
And
so-
our ordinance doesn't require it.
okay.
Yeah, no, we had a trailer park that had one meter, and they charged whatever they wanted to their 30, 40 trailers, mobile home spaces.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wouldn't pay the bill over here for 2-3 months, and that doesn't work. So we changed that ordinance to where every trailer have a meter, it's
Okay.
individual meter. That's old stuff. I mean, we're up to par.
Okay.
We hold people accountable for their usage. If there's a water leak, we're not gonna turn off everybody off for one leak.
Okay.
So there's a reason behind all that. It's just for clarification.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that we go into discussion for item number 2
Okay.
on zoning, and then we'll go back to each item for
That's fine.
adoption of the ordinance.
Item number 2. Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I am here for more questions on the zone change if you have any more questions. And so just also so you know, when a property is annexed, it's usually automatically given the RA zone, the residential agricultural zone. as sort of a placeholder until the landowner decides what they want to do with the property. So, talking amongst staff, usually the annexation happens and then a few months later the zone change happens. In this case, Mr. Rivera already knows what he wants to do. He already knows what zone will accommodate his uses. So that's why we're doing them at the same meeting. And the zone that he's requesting does allow the uses he's proposing.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Maton?
So on this, Amy, on Exhibit B, it indicates that ordinance number 22-12, the zone change request submitted to city attorney and city manager for review has been approved on September the 2nd. And also on Exhibit 13, it says Planning and Zoning Commission record proper, which was approved at the meeting of October 11th of 2022. Correct?
So the first one you said, I think you said Exhibit D as in dog? Is that the first one you're asking about?
No, B.
Oh, B?
B. D.
And what was that attached to? Which exhibit number?
It's the second page on letter B.
I've got numbered exhibits, that's why I'm confused.
It says Exhibit A and B.
What's the number?
What are you holding up in your hand, though?
The record proper,
Okay.
zone change.
I'll
You
have
have
to try
it?
to find what you're talking about.
Oh, you can have a copy.
I'm not sure
Okay.
what you're asking me.
Do you have it there, Mr. City Manager?
Bobby, can you show him?
Oh, that's why I said you can have a
It's the
copy.
record proper on the second item.
Just to verify,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yes, okay, and what
Thank
was
you.
your question about that?
Yeah, no, it was approved by city attorney and the manager, and by planning and zoning.
Correct,
Yes,
okay.
thank you.
Very well. Are you ready for number 2?
That's number 2.
Oh, okay, the zoning?
Close.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could just follow up on that, I haven't seen that. Thank you, Councilor Montoya. So on item B, it says that it was approved, but it's not, I mean, if you go to B, it's not even signed by the city manager or the picture manager. So we don't have the physical,
They normally send this afterwards.
Oh, okay. So the B, exhibit B that he's talking about is the ordinance.
Yeah.
And that would be signed once the ordinance was
Yes,
approved.
and that's what I just mentioned to Mr. Romero.
So that's the why it doesn't have any signatures yet.
Amy, could you read the stipulations that you read when we were talking about the annexation?
Well, the conditions that the Planning and Zoning Commission placed were specifically on the zone change, but they asked that a parking plan be provided. They want a copy of the notarized statement with the neighbor allowing the connection to the private sewer line, and they would like to have a landscaping plan. But that's for the zone change, not the annexation.
so Amy, with that, on item ordinance 22-11 for annexation, the commission's recommendations, those are the conditions for the annexation on the, according to the paperwork that I got, I don't know if it's updated, but for the actual zone change, there is no.
So I'm looking at ordinance 2211 is
So
for...
item number 1, basically. This says commission's recommendations, but if you go to this,
Number 13. Item 13.
So we have, so we have two separate ordinances, 2211 and 2212. So as far as I'm aware, ordinance number 2211 does not have any conditions associated with it. That's for the annexation. But for ordinance 2212, it refers to the findings of fact and from the Planning and Zoning Commission, which does have those conditions.
And those are the parking area, the sewer, and
Landscaping.
Mr. Mayor, I make a recommendation to go into regular session.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero to go back into regular session. Second, please.
second.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call.
Counselor Montoya?
No.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
No.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Casey to close public hearing and go back into regular session. Mayor, it's a tie.
Mr. Mayor, if I can just ask, we're going into regular session, more debate, if not, I'll withdraw. More questions, I'll withdraw. the
Yeah,
motion.
there's more debate on, after there's a motion and a second, then there'll be a debate.
No, but is there more questions for public comment?
From her, or for public comment? No.
This is a motion to close the public hearing and go back into regular session.
But he's asking if the public can comment after we get out of here and we go to the item to vote on it. And there's no public comment then.
No, so Mr. Montoya, you want to stay in,
Oh,
you want to stay into, if you want to stay and ask more questions, then I'll withdraw my motion, is what I'm asking.
oh, I have no questions, further questions.
My vote is yes.
If you can ask questions.
Motion carries. Public hearing is
Okay.
closed. We're back into regular session.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Well, we're going to executive, you voted to go into executive.
No, not executive, regular session. We were in public hearing.
Now we're going to.
Now we went back into regular session.
Well, I thought we had a motion on the floor and a second.
There was to go back
To close the public hearing.
to close the public hearing.
I thought you wanted to go into executive.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, to regular session.
Unless Councilor.
No, I thought you were asking for executive session.
No.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Mayor, I would suggest that these be separate motions.
Very well.
Yes.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Item number 1. Ordinance 2211 for the annexation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I would like to go ahead and make a motion to approve ordinance 22-11 for annexation of 1.805 acre parcel off North Grand Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico, for property located at 2446 North Grand Avenue, Las Vegas, New Mexico. According to the record, Mr. Joseph Rivera put in an application 7 months ago, and it was done before all our directors and approved by our city attorney, former, and our city manager. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the floor and a second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
No.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Clerk, I do have to include those 3 conditions for the parking plan, the sewer permit for the neighbor's property, and the landscaping plan that Planning and Zoning recommended. Thank you.
For annexation?
We were including those conditions for the zone change, if that's okay?
That's for
Typically,
the next
annexations
ordinance.
wouldn't
That's for
have
the
the
next-
conditions tied to a
second.
development, it's just to come into the city.
That's for the second one
Okay,
that we
that's the
haven't
second one.
voted on.
Okay.
Okay,
The motion stands.
Yes,
Sorry.
thank you.
Thank you.
I just didn't want to miss it.
Mayor and council, just for the record, previous city attorney and myself don't have any way of approving the annexation. We only approve the agenda request, just to clarify.
Thank you. So for item number 2, what's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion to table item number 2, based off of that I would like, before we see this again, that all those items are actually brought to council for approval, and also with the condition that we do have an attorney review this to feel a lot better. So that's my motion, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion and a second to table till when?
Next meeting's fine.
Next meeting?
So you got that, so that these items are included?
So that the landscape plan, the sewer plan, and the parking plan are received at the city?
Are included in the
Yes.
packet.
And also, if I may add, that the design review team today is the 19th, that their signatures, that the design review team, meaning every single department, has signed off on it prior to today. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. So there's a motion
Do you agree with
and a
it?
second? Do you agree with the second,
Councilman Dwight?
with the amendment?
Yes, I do.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Livari?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Romero, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next order of business. Thank you, Mr. Rivera.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on to business item 3, request approval of resolution 22-57 to adopt the credit card acceptance and processing policy. We have our interim finance director, Dominic Chavez.
Welcome, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you.
Thanks for staying up with us.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I just wanted to request approval for Resolution 2257 to adopt the credit card acceptance policy, acceptance and processing policy as per the Department of Finance Administration.
Very well.
So move, Mr. Mayor.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Montoya, second.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Ms. Casey. Roll call, please.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Livari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Moving on to item number 4 is request approval of resolution 22-53. This is a budget adjustment for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. Mr. Chavez?
We're here to request approval of Resolution 2253, another budget adjustment. I don't know if you want me to read this in entirety.
For the record, please.
Sure. City of Las Vegas is in need of making a budget adjustment for 22-23 fiscal year budget to include a transfer of budget from code enforcement to city clerk in the amount of $71,587, a transfer of budget from code enforcement to community development in the amount of $43,494, an increase to Fund 641 water replacement in the amount of $500,000, an expense increase to Fund 643 water construction in the amount of $500,000, an expense increase to Fund 646 water GRT in the amount of $1 million, an expense increase to Fund 647 water acquisition rights in the amount of $900,000, and a decrease to Revenue Fund 217 special legislative appropriation in the amount of $228,928, an increase in the expense to Fund 217 in the amount of $119,437, and a revenue and expense increase to Fund 101 Library in the amount of $200.
Mr. Chavez, did this go through the Finance Committee?
Yes, sir.
And they approved all, they
Yes, sir.
had no problem with this? Very well, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Casey?
I'd like to make a motion to approve, but I also want to let the clerk know that on page 77 on the computer, the fourth whereas reads, should be as it meet the requirement. Should read, the governing body finds that the budget adjustment request should be as if meets with an S. I just think that a document like this needs to be perfect. So I know it's just an S, but
Thank you.
I would like to have it added.
We'll get that added.
Thank you. And I move that we approve the budget adjustment request as presented.
Very well, there's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey, second by Mr. Montoya. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Be tonight.
I'm sorry.
Counselor Casey?
Oh, yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Dominic, I appreciate you being here.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we'd just like to note that on this adjustments, there was a donation of $200 given from Jeff Buda, and I would like to thank them, and that was for the library. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 5, consideration of letter of interest from City of Las Vegas to support the state-funded initiative to permanently house a New Mexico State Film Museum. We have Counselor Romero.
Mr. Romero?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With me to help with this presentation will be Angie Lister. Would you mind coming up, and I'll let you talk and then I'll jump in.
Welcome, Angie.
Thank you.
So I represent the Chamber of Commerce with this. And we have a film team with both city and county collaboration. On our film team, we have San Miguel County Commissioner Harold Garcia, Amanda Salas, Planning and Zoning Director, City Councilman David Romero, the City of Las Vegas Film Liaison and Event Planner Chuck Griego, our Chamber President Philip Martinez, SDC Broadcasting owner Matt Martinez, as well as film industry professionals Aubrey Martinez, Tusa Ortega, and Ben Holdyke. We also collaborate in this with other industry professionals and companies, Luna, West, Highlands, Mora County, Villanueva, Pecos, and other organizations. So what we have actually done is, under the Chamber of Commerce and with city and county collaboration, we have applied as members to the Association of Film Commissioners International as the Las Vegas San Miguel Film Commission. So this is our official certificate, which I have one for everyone. And with this, we have several projects, one of them being a state film museum. They're looking for a location. So the county commission already signed the letter and approved that they are willing to house it in the county. And so what Councilor Romero has prepared is a letter for the city council to also approve it.
Thank you, Angie. So with this letter tonight, Mayor and Council, what we're asking here is just basically the council to support this letter. The Economic Development Secretary, Secretary Keys, and New Mexico Film are looking, the state is looking to put a New Mexico Film Museum, where it's a museum that there will be artifacts from everything New Mexico. This isn't just a small thing.
Awesome.
And I know there's Las Cruces that's really fighting for it to be in Las Cruces. We as a film group have talked and said, well, why not Las Vegas with all the history of film that we have? So this letter of support here tonight is just that say, hey, you know what, the City of Las Vegas supports that film museum being here, and we'll continue discussions. Yesterday, City Manager Leo Maestas, myself, Chairman Garcia, we did go yesterday to Albuquerque and meet with Secretary Keys in hopes of course, the film museum, right? But also to discuss film studio and some good conversations, and hopefully we can get something done here pretty quick. But we have a private partner that's interested, but there's some homework that we need to do in order to make sure that we get a long-term group out here and and a commitment to that. But, that's a different avenue here tonight, is just for the Film Museum. Secretary Keys is hoping it's, of course, here in this area and off the record, but I'll make it the record here. But, the only way we could support it is by, voting on this tonight and say that we support it as a group. And
Sure.
from here on out, then we lobby any state officials that we know and say, hey, this upcoming legislative session, if there's a way we can get in this done. This will be a state-run museum, so if we can get it here, that's, great for our community. So.
That would be wonderful. Thank you for your work on this, Councilor Romero.
Mr. Mayor, just a comment. We've been talking about this for years, and I'm really happy to know that we can put in our application or letter of interest, whatever you want to call it, and hopefully we'll be able to get it. There have been so many films that have been made here in Las Vegas that I think that we should easily be able to just beat out any competition. That's my opinion. But I think we have a good chance of doing that, and I think it would be a wonderful asset for Las Vegas as well as the film industry itself. So I think it's great.
Absolutely. Any other discussion?
There's a signature for City Attorney Blanco here. Do we have to approve it? No, thank you, Mr. Romero. I think this is great news. I think we should take it a step further and invite Highlands and Luna and, even our business community needs to get behind this. I know we had a few problems the last few films in town, but, I think this is a win-win situation for Las Vegas and the northern part of the state. And, we don't have the structures for that yet, but they will come. And we have the area, we have the people, so, and we like movies. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
Move approval, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by Ms. Casey. Second, please.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Ulibarri. Roll call, please.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
Councilor Olivari?
Yes.
Have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, just off topic, one thing that they did suggest is to see if we can get these items put on the ICIP. Because if, we lobbying for it and it's not a priority to us, then, so just a heads up.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you for being here, Angie.
Sure.
We appreciate your support.
Sure. I'd
Thank
like to come back and do a little presentation of the stuff we've been working on.
Wonderful. We'll entertain you later. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our final item for the night. Request for permission to destroy records included on the list from the Police Department and City Clerk's Office. So every year, Mayor and Council, we reach out to all of our departments at least once a year and ask them to gather any records that are ready for disposition, meaning are ready for destruction. And this time around, we were ourselves, the City Clerk's Office, and the Police Department. So we have a total of 101 boxes. We've included a list of everything to be destroyed, and we have to bring it to Mayor and Council as per our resolution, which I attached, as well as our retention schedule, so that you could see how it works. And each section is assigned a code, and then our clerk's office goes through all of it to make sure that, yes, they can be destroyed. And then we go out and we get our 3 quotes, and then we schedule that for destruction, so.
That's a big job.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
Thanks to Anna, she went through all of that.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Well, thank you.
Sure. So, Madam Clerk, these are records that are older than 7 years?
So there's several different sections of our retention schedule. So some we can destroy in 3 years, some 7, some 10, some are permanent. There's just an ongoing list, so we have to make sure that we go through each one and make sure that they can be destroyed. So we have to look at each one.
So what happens when we have to go back and look at, new manager comes in, and like Leo came in, and there was some questions as to what happened back, 10 years
Well,
ago?
I don't,
20 years
I think
ago,
we can
or
keep every
7 years ago.
record. I mean, like personnel, HR, we keep all of the personnel records for
Yeah.
55 years.
But like contracts and MOUs and,
Yeah, they each have a different disposition date, so we're not required to keep them. So
Mhm.
that's just too much.
so what about like
we
the
can-
properties?
No, that we have to keep.
No, we have to
Yeah.
keep them, okay.
All zoning, all of that we have to keep.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move approval, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. There's a motion to approve by Ms. Casey, second by Mr. Romero.
Can we include the resolution on there, 2027? Detachment? Yeah, it has to be included on there.
No, that's just a resolution to show you when you passed that.
Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
And Cassandra, would you please make sure that Anna has our heartfelt thank
certainly
you
will.
for doing all of that
Yes.
work. I do
Yeah.
not envy her one bit.
Voluminous.
Oh my
It's a lot of work. What's the pleasure of the council?
Mr. Mayor, move adjournment.
There's a motion to adjourn.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.